Hello, MotoAmerica fans. Welcome to this latest edition of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. I am Sean Bice, and I'm joined by our communications manager, Paul Carruthers, on the other side of the table. We are at Jersey Motorsports Park in Millville, New Jersey for the final round of the 2024 MotoAmerica Championship, and we are joined by somebody who's very much in the hunt, Kyle Wyman, who races for the Harley-Davidson factory racing team on a road glide. Do they still call it a road glide special?
Yeah, I think it's still it's just a road glide this year, the 2024.
His is special.
Well, that's what I thought.
Mine is for sure.
I actually thought you guys added special to it because they are special. I mean, it's a race bike, but I didn't realize that was based on something.
Yeah, when the new bike came out in 2024, everything was just a base road glide, or you had the CVOs like the CVO ST.
Okay,
that came out. So.
Gotcha.
He could be a salesman at a Harley dealership.
I mean, it's so cool.
Well, maybe in 5 years he will be.
Yeah, no. We know it is. It's future. No, well, that touches on something. We've said this before, but Kyle's legacy is Harley-Davidson. His grandfather, Harv, owned a dealership. I think. Does your mom still own it now?
Yeah.
Your mom owns it, and at some point, somebody in that family is going to take it over, I think.
Probably Cody.
If not all three of them. Maybe Cody will do it. Yeah, we'll see. But we've come down to an absolute battle in this Mission King of the Baggers. We had Troy Herfoss on at after Coda, so it's only right that we have equal play and have Kyle on here for this. So Kyle, I don't know. I got to start off with this. I don't know if you saw the story I wrote, but I wrote a story about the two of you guys, the mirror thing, and I actually created a character named Herman Wyfoss, which is half of your name and half of his flipped around. And this Herman Wyfoss has like an Australian accent, but he loves garbage plates.
Oh, yeah. So he does have a little bit of Wyman in him.
Oh yeah, he's a central Western New Yorker guy. So
how long did you spend coming up with this crap?
I don't know. It just jumped out. I was trying to do something with Kyle and Troy, and it doesn't work as well as Herfoss and Wyman. So Herman Wyfoss works, but it occurred to me how close it's been this season and how you've been like yin and yang on so many things. You win, he's second. You're second, he wins. There's been a couple times where it didn't happen that way, and it's amazing that it's led to 2 points.
Yeah,
and he finished pretty far down. He finished like 11th in one race. So neither of you have DNF'd at all this year.
No, he had his crash. Well, he had a crash at Brainerd and a crash at Laguna, was able to pick it up and finish. I had my clutch issue at Brainerd where I had to roll around in 8th or 9th or whatever that was. But, yeah, we've both managed to score points in all 16 races so far.
Yeah, it's been an incredible year. And
when you screw up you together.
Yeah, seemingly.
Or if one does, then sometime later, it's just weird how it balanced out. And obviously the point system works that way, that it'd be 2 points separating you. So, but we're at a track where you know it well. You finished on the podium in second in Superbike. You've had some good success here. You've had a few things happen once in a while. We're at a freshly paved track. Have you been on this track yet?
No, I haven't even seen it. I'm really looking forward to the track walk so I can get a chance to actually, see how it's changed. I know that turn 1's quite a bit different than it used to be. They took that curb out, so it's a lot faster. You cut into the inside a lot more, so that'll be different. That'll be new, but the rest of it looks... I've tried to watch as many videos as I can of people, running it this year, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that it obviously goes the same way and the lefts are lefts and the rights are right, doesn't the repave, I would think, takes away some of your advantage? Because the advantage, I think, on knowing a track is probably knowing the bumps more than anything. And this place had a lot of bumps. No?
I don't know. I think at a certain level, like,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't take a long time to learn a racetrack, He'll be up to speed. I'll be up to speed. It'll be a battle. I mean, yeah, I have a lot of good memories here. I have a lot of laps around here. But, you can only, after the 1,000th lap or the 5,000th lap, you don't know any more than you did on the 1,000th. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I think, but it's, weather's always a factor here. So that's what we're going to be keeping our eyes on for sure. But we'll be ready either way, whatever comes.
We were talking, we did a podcast that's going to run later with Chuck Axland earlier, and we were just talking about the whole thing about Mission King of the Baggers, how it's evolved. And it's like, it's still pretty incredible. It's like 620-pound motorcycle. You go faster and faster every time you guys are out there. It's still evolving so much. And I can't wrap my head around it. Do you ever sit back and are just amazed at how far you've come in this short a time?
I mean, for sure, and especially just in the last couple of weeks, just reflecting on the season and reflecting on, the 4 years that we've been doing this. It's definitely something that, if you asked me 10 years ago if I'd be in this type of position where it means this much to a manufacturer and we're doing it here in MotoAmerica, I would have called you a liar. Like, it's pretty incredible what this class has turned into and what opportunities it's given to so many riders to do things that mean so much. So yeah, that's definitely something I've been thinking about. And it is incredible what we've been able to do with these bikes now. I mean, we fully closed the gap to Supersport. I mean, we're right there at pole with Supersport, and we keep making steps. So it's possible we're going to be the second quickest class out here.
Yeah. Go ahead, Paul.
In the time between COTA and now, does this championship battle keep you up at night?
I mean, of course. Not in a bad way, It's you go through so many different thoughts because you can't help but think about all the possible scenarios that could play out. But you do all the thinking beforehand, so you can show up here and not think. Just go by instinct and just go ride my Harley, go ride free, and I mean that's the plan this weekend. It's a lot, but I mean it's such an incredible thing to be in this type of position that means so much to so many people in such an amazing company. I think a lot of people would feel that type of pressure, but with everything we've done and everything that's happening outside of racing based on King of the Baggers and new products that we've put out, and no matter what happens this weekend, we're doing such amazing things with Harley, and I'm just so grateful to be in this position. And I think being able to let go of the expectation of wanting to win this and the feeling of knowing what it feels like to come up short, like just kind of let go of that and just let it hang out there and go for it.
And anything that happens out there, you can at least draw on the fact that you probably thought about it 3 nights ago.
Well, that's kind of part of it too, is, I think that there's been times in the past where, I would line up on the grid. Even, last year was a good example, a couple times where it's like, I'm going to win this. Like it's inconceivable to me that any other scenario will play out. So if I find myself in a different scenario, it's like I haven't even thought about it. And it's, those are things you learn from. It's, going into this weekend, I realize so many different things can happen. And, I can only do what I can do and nothing more. So I'm going to go out there and ride my heart out and see where it lands.
You mentioned pressure. You ran your own team. When you crashed your bikes and you had to pay for them. You had to worry about paying the people that helped you. You had to worry about paying to get the truck here. All that stuff brings about a certain amount of pressure. Is that more pressure, different pressure, or less pressure than basically representing, I don't know how many, 5,000 people at the Harley-Davidson Motor Company, for example?
I mean, it's a different kind of pressure, but I would argue also it's a lot more pressure to be in this position. I think just from the standpoint of, when I was running my own team, if I got a result, it was amazing. I wasn't expected to get a result, so, you have all these reasons why, you're not supposed to be up there. So you don't really have the pressure for the result in that situation because, you have your big book of excuses, or whatever. But, coming out of that mentality is something I was able to do towards the end of my, tenure as a team owner rider and put myself more in that position to have the pressure of the result. because I felt we deserved to be there. We belonged at the front. And yeah, now it's, yeah, I don't have any reason why I shouldn't win this thing. So I think that is a different and higher level of pressure.
Yeah, and if you messed up before, it's like, sorry, Dad, sorry, Mom, sorry, wife, sorry to myself, but that's right.
Yeah, but
gotta be a little easier to
I mean,
do.
the cool thing though is that like Harley, I mean, they don't put that pressure on me.
Yeah, that's
like
good.
it's all just, what I feel I should be able to accomplish. And yeah, if anything, they're trying to take it off of me. They're like, man, you're our guy. Like, just go out there and enjoy it. Like, win or lose, we're doing some great things. So I think it's super nice to be in that position, and there's a lot of respect between myself and the team, just because we've come so far from, starting this with a small group of people in the company and growing it to what it is. Like, it's really cool to have that history together, and like, we look at each other just like you're talking. It's like, we can't believe what this has turned into, even though we kind of turned it into this,
Yeah,
it's
right.
just, yeah, it's incredible.
Like, I was kind of half joking with these guys earlier, and it's like, oh, Kyle has a lifetime contract with Harley-Davidson. Now, that may or may not be true, but are you certain for next year? I mean, how has these things taken place yet, or is that something that's yet to happen?
Well, I am on a 2-year deal, so I am locked in for next year. But no, it's kind of interesting for sure. Like, the history we have, the position I'm in. No, it's not a lifetime contract, but I definitely feel very secure. And there's not a lot of guys that get to say that, in this sport in any paddock. And for me, it's important to recognize that, have gratitude for that, because it's not like if I lose this championship, I'm not getting re-signed, or what it means to win it. I mean, it's just like icing, like, I think for sure it feels it feels like family. It feels like it's yeah, I just feel the love from the team, and
It's a high comfort level.
It's a great feeling.
Speaking about love from within the team, I don't expect you to maybe reveal this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Is there any conversation with James about James helping out here in some way, getting between you guys, or, has that been discussed?
For sure. I mean, getting him up to speed has been a priority of mine and the whole team all year. He's been there at times. I don't think there's been many incidences of teammates taking away points from, like Tyler, James. For me, Tyler took a few points off of me at Coda in race 1. I think that's maybe the first time it's happened that way, where, our teammates could be a factor. And I think that's part of the reason why the points are so tight, is because there's not really been that much outside influence, putting people in between us. But obviously, if he can be there, that's great. It's good to have a wingman. And I know if it rains, he's going to be up there with us too. So we'll see how it plays out.
Is this rivalry with Harley-Davidson and Indian Motorcycle, it's got to be the most intense rivalry you've ever been a part of with any brand. Yeah. And it's real. It's real among everybody, right? I mean,
yeah, it's not just the racetrack. It's, it's the market.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. It's the market.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you go to Milwaukee once in a while, I'm sure. Have you ever gone down like on the floor and you're walking around and, hey, it's Kyle Wyman? Has that ever happened where people, the workers, that you've had conversations with them, or they've wanted to talk to you or been part of it?
Well, definitely. I mean, we, make visits to the York plant, the final assembly plant in PA, which is not too far from here, actually. Powertrain operations is up in Milwaukee. So, we do signings where, in between shift changes, people can come see us and meet us, and we can thank them because, every person has a hand in, the success we have in the race team. So it's cool to get a chance to recognize everybody. And I think that kind of plays into like the feeling of gratitude and the feeling of like how much this means, is because, I mean, any of the guy, my crew chief was just telling me, he doesn't go a day in the product development center without somebody talking about racing.
Oh, that's
And,
cool.
You couldn't say that 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I mean it's part of the DNA of what Harley-Davidson was in the beginning. I mean that number one, that with the stars and everything, that means something to that company. And
Yep.
and you ran it last year, I think it was, wasn't it, or a year before?
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago you ran that thing. I mean, it means a lot. It's iconic. So it's cool that it's all about that again. And you're right, Harley-Davidson. I mean, they're known for having obviously comfortable cruiser bikes, but they're also known for some pretty damn fast motorcycles now too. And like you said, as race bikes, but a lot of it trickles down to the CVO road glide that there is now and everything. And there's been some changes made to it based on what you guys have done on the track. So boy, you got to have an enormous sense of pride about you looking at a street bike and you're like, I affected the way that thing looks or is designed.
Yeah, that's really cool to be a part of the development and even going to the test track, working with the engineers on, suspension tuning for that model. I mean, it's really cool that they draw on the racing team to be a part of that process. And yeah, the CVO Road Glide ST is it's a special bike that was not in the product plan before we went racing.
Wow.
That's really directly, built off of racing. So
that's so cool. I want to talk to you about your KWR racing. You were a team owner this year and wrapped up at COTA. All in all, how'd that go for you this year?
Better than expected. I mean, to come out, Cody fighting for the win at Daytona right out of the box, and then Cody and Hayden getting a 1-2 finish at the Ridge in the rain was definitely a highlight of the year, and not exactly my team, but for Saddleman to win that championship with Corey, and for KWR to have taken so many points off of Tyler throughout the year, it's definitely a good feeling to have been a part of that, getting that title, because Corey now gets to run that iconic number 1 next year. So
yeah,
it's good for all of Harley racing, everything that we're doing. So that was my goal going into it, was, just be another positive force for Harley-Davidson racing.
Any idea if you're going to do it again next year?
We're talking about it. I think it'll probably continue. It might look a little different. It might look the same. We'll see.
Yeah. The bike came a long ways from last year. I mean, I know there were some changes. In fact, it went to the point where now there's been some talk about maybe the thing's too fast. And last year it wasn't even in the kind of in the mix a little bit. What a huge development change for this year, though. I mean, to be kind of the performance that thing had, that swing arm that you guys have on it from the Bronx. I mean, that's a cool story too. A swing arm that was part of a production bike that was never produced is incredible, and it really made a difference. It shortened the wheelbase. Is that what the difference was?
Yeah, it was just shorter. I mean, the swing arm on the Pan America as a stock motorcycle is really long for adventure touring and for payload and saddlebags and all that. So definitely helped shorten the bike up.
Yeah. Do you seriously, your racing, I mean, next year you're good to go. I don't see myself a picture where you're not racing. Have you? And it's not going to be a huge amount of time, I don't imagine, but you will stop racing at some point. I just can't see when it's going to happen. Do you even think about that?
No. I
don't. Right.
No, it's not even a thought.
Right, exactly. It doesn't seem like it is with you. I think it's because you're youthful in the way you carry yourself anyway, and you're at the top of your game right now. So it's incredible that you look at Josh Herron. Josh Herron's had probably the best season he's had. You guys, as you get older, you do kind of get better a little bit. Yeah,
and I think for me, it's I feel like I'm just getting started, like as an athlete, as a racer, like everything that got me to this point, running the team and building a brand and a business. And it took a long time for me to get the opportunity that I'm in now. And, I was pretty late to the party, I think, so it's, for me, it doesn't feel like I've been racing as long as I have. It feels like I've been a team owner for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, if you asked me 10 years ago or 6 years ago, if I could be in a position, I certainly would have hoped that I would be in some position of, maybe a factory superbike ride or a better factory supported superbike ride where I could have that focus and that pressure. It still wouldn't mean as much as this means, So it's pretty cool, and I don't want it to end.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Do you want to race in Super Hooligan as well?
I don't know. I think it would have been really tough this year, 9 bagger rounds, especially the double duty weekends that there would have been. But I mean, it feels like we're operating at a level of superbike, in baggers, and I think that in order to be a title contender, you have to have your focus on that. I know Troy, he raced both classes this year. Maybe at times it was tough to go back and forth. I don't have any plans to.
Okay. And the owning of the team KWR, how involved were you in that whole program? Very involved?
Yeah, I mean, so Gene Burcham built the bikes. He's Hayden Schultz's guy. They've been together for a while. My dad helped out quite a bit. It was a bit of a heavy lift getting all the pieces in place in the beginning. But I was really not hands-on until we went to the Ridge, and I basically was fully hands-on because that's the only race this year that was not a bagger round that we had for hooligans. So, I was definitely in it. I was definitely in it that weekend.
And look what it showed. I mean, 1-2 in the rain there. So, that made a difference for sure.
It was a good feeling.
Yeah, it is a good feeling.
Okay, so when I watch the races of you and Troy racing, there seems to always be the riding style itself is obviously different. I mean, he sits up kind of old school more and you're hanging off. But there seems to be points on every track where he's better and there's points where you're better. Is that a byproduct more of the motorcycles being different or from you guys actually riding differently?
I think it's a little bit for sure, like just the nature of the motorcycle compared to his, but also how you set up the motorcycle. Like I set it up to run it how I ride, so like there's a little bit of that, a little bit of a style difference, but I think that the bikes have very different strengths for sure. The Harley has a 7,000 RPM limit with a higher displacement, and the Indian has a smaller displacement with a 7,700 RPM limit. Where we see things kind of give and take in that regard is gearing. Mm-hmm. Like if we're gonna get off of a corner really well, the shift happens really soon, and that can get really difficult. So like we typically have to gear our bike a lot taller just to not have hectic upshifts. And
so you're talking about upshifts at lean angle.
Yeah, like
not a comfortable thing.
Yeah, so like there's a lot of, so for example at Coda, you could see Troy could get in and out of those really tight corners. I mean, I would back the thing up and try to get a run, and I just wouldn't have enough pipe to kind of go with him. So like those are, I think, some of the more different characteristics is just like the rules configuration. But like I wouldn't say that it's an advantage or a disadvantage. It's just different. Like I think the bikes are just balanced so well. Like you see us fighting for the last 1/10 of a second for pole position and things like that all the time. So I wouldn't change anything. I think we're in good shape and we know our strengths, we know our weaknesses, and try to play on our strengths and minimize our weaknesses.
Is it important to come out and just establish I'm the fast guy, I'm the fast guy, I'm the fast guy, I'm the fast guy, or is it not that important?
It is. To me, it is.
I think it is to everybody. I mean,
yeah,
to the guys that are capable of doing that anyway.
And all of my best weekends were when I came out swinging Friday morning. We struggled at Coda on Friday, and we were really behind, trying to get the setting where we needed it. And, came good by Sunday, and we were there. Maybe had the bike to win, but was... after everything we went through that weekend, didn't want to take any huge risks, but yeah, having a strong Friday is huge, and hopefully I'll be able to put the hammer down right on that first flying lap tomorrow morning.
When you come in during a session, you sit down, you look at the monitor in your pit, you probably look for Troy's name first. Whose name do you look for second? Whoever is higher?
I don't know. I mean, probably look to hopefully see mine towards the top and not have to move my eyes too far down the list.
You don't want to be doing
I don't want to be looking down the list. Or, hey, guys, can you change it to page 2? But yeah, then it's immediately to Troy. Like, where's he at? What are we doing? Can't help but be that way, and especially the way it is now. Like, we're the only 2 guys that are mathematically in this. We only have to beat each other, so it's
right. But therein kind of lies a problem as well, because you 2 are the only ones in it. But Hayden Gillam's always been fast, right? Mm-hmm. And now Rocco Landers is stepped up. So now suddenly there's a couple of guys that absolutely have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
That's going to play into this, don't you think?
It could, for sure. I think Hayden will be fast here. I think this place will also suit Rocco. James will be fast. Hopefully we get some Harleys up there and I have some allies, but I think that Hayden and Rocco are pretty much out for themselves or out for Vance and Hines.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to think really too hard about helping me. So
when I look at this, the natural thing is everyone's talking about the rivalry between you and Troy. But when I look at it from my standpoint, I honestly believe you have a bigger rivalry with Hayden Gillam. Is that accurate or not? I just think watching you 2 interact or not interact tells me that could be, and I don't know if that comes from last year, but that's just what I see, and I could be wrong, but I'm never wrong. I'm just not always right.
No, I don't. I don't know. I think Hayden and I get along pretty well. Obviously, we want to beat each other, and when he's, it's probably been tough for him at times this year because he's got the number 1 plate and he's not really been there. And Rocco's stepped up, and I think that if you said he had a rivalry with me, I'd say he has a rivalry with everybody. Because I don't know. It's I don't think I'm racing against Hayden. Last year was for sure a difficult one, one that I thought we should have had. We won 7 races and Hayden won 3. We just had a DNF at Daytona. We had mistakes at Coda, Brainerd. It was a bummer. So I don't think there's really a rivalry there. I think I'm really just focused on myself and trying to go fast.
Okay. That's my only tough question.
Well, I got a tough one too. So because you've been a team owner and have been involved in that side of it so much, I want to ask you about another Harley team, Team Saddleman this year. They, 3 riders. It started out, they were really gung-ho on this whole thing. I thought they'd have a better year than they did. And I don't understand what's going on. I mean, you probably don't think about it, but now that I'm talking about it, have you noticed that too? I mean, does it seem odd?
Yeah, I think that there's 2 parts to it. I mean, I think that just at the front, like, it's just the level's just gotten so high. Seeing guys like Tyler and James, Hayden, fighting over third, at times with me and Troy, kind of clicking our way out ahead. I think the level is raised a lot. Those guys are starting to, find more pace as well, as we're seeing. But for Saddlemen, I think that there's a lot that we can do to help them more. It's just a matter of, like, we're maxed out trying to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit tough. Like, they're kind of on their own in a lot of ways, but I think that, it's definitely something we want to prioritize more in the future to help Saddlemen be more competitive and be a factor. Because the riders are all capable. They're all capable. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been great for them on the hooligan side of things. That went well. So that was good with the championship. How you doing over there?
I don't have too much more. I know you do.
Well, I don't know. You're good to talk to about other riders, and I want to ask you about another rider. I want to ask you about Rocco. I mean, it's been an interesting season for him. I mean, Coda, that second race at Coda was crazy. He was right there. Did that surprise you? Is that what you expected knowing him? And it seems like it's still going to be upward for that kid.
Yeah, I mean, I think I expected him to be a factor. I think it's just been super impressive that he's gotten to a level that he's gotten to win a race straight up with probably a horsepower disadvantage. I mean, that's impressive. Rocco, I'm fond of. Like, he's really growing on me. I didn't really know the kid that well.
Right.
I've seen him around. Obviously, he's won a ton of stuff in a lot of different classes, but when we went to homecoming in July in Milwaukee, Harley-Davidson's, big event, all of us were there. All the Harley riders were there, and just to get a chance to hang out with Rocco, and I think that he's just a really good kid. He's really smart, and I think that with the right people around him, he's going to mature and grow into a serious threat to whatever class he wants to race.
And I think it's cool. I mean, Sean brought it up earlier in the day, but it's cool that he's a 19-year-old kid racing the baggers.
Yeah.
Because other 19, 20-year-old kids are suddenly looking at this, and it's not just a bunch of old guys riding around on big bikes. It's a bunch of fast guys, and now this kid's joined in. I think it brings more interest to the class.
I mean, definitely. But I don't know if any other 19-year-old's going to get on and do what he's
true,
doing.
But I mean, right, at least they can see that it's possible.
Yeah, for sure. No, it is cool to have that little bit more diversity in the class and pulling from different backgrounds. But I mean, there was stuff that Rocco did in race 1 that I had to go out and try Sunday morning in race 2 at Coda. I mean, that's just the fact, So,
right, and Troy said the same thing about him.
Yeah, it's man, he's making that work, and I wouldn't think that would work, but I'm gonna go try it.
Right.
Let's see.
That's cool that when you're riding around, you're looking at other riders and seeing stuff in them. That's amazing to be that analytical about other people while you're trying to do what you're doing. I don't even know how you do that.
You have
Is that
to.
part of the champ school? I mean, is that a little bit of that, or?
I mean, that's just picking out people's strengths and weaknesses, and trying to build your plan for the races and build your racecraft. And I always watch the races back later after it's over, see if I can pick anything out that, even if myself, it's like, man, why am I kind of doing that? Like, what is it that's preventing me from doing this, or what, how can I close a gap here? And it's not been often, just fair to say, that there's been a Harley that I need to figure out how to go as fast as, So like, to have Hayden at times, to have Rocco now, James coming along, like, it's good to be able to pull from something, instead of just trying to figure out how to go faster without that kind of reference.
I'm not going to ask you about every rider, but some of those riders that you're talking about, you're comfortable riding around them, riding with them? Rocco,
yeah,
Troy?
I think all of us in this class, trust each other to a very high level.
That's a great thing to have. I mean, for obviously safety reasons, but okay, this is random too. One last thing. One of the things that's interesting about that road glide, and something I don't think about with a Harley-Davidson, is I never think Harley-Davidsons would have more than 5 speeds in them. I mean, there were times I think probably they had 4 gears, didn't they? I didn't. So obviously the road glide is a 6-speed bike. So is the Indian Challenger. That right there lends itself to some performance as well. But a couple of years ago, I think it was at Daytona, a couple of years ago, not last year, you had a shifting issue, bloody foot. Did you solve that problem, and do you have that anymore?
Yeah, that was we had a big problem with aftermarket gearbox, and we solved that by improving our own OEM gearbox. And after Daytona 2022, we haven't had a problem since.
Wow. So that you took care of that immediately with what it was. That was terrible to end up with a bloody foot, though. So you don't have to worry about that anymore.
No, all good.
Okay, and something I don't know, Kyle, to close this out. This is just random. Are those street shift bikes?
No, we run GP shift.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what you're used to running anyway. So
yeah,
okay, I didn't realize that. Is the Indian like that too? Do you know?
probably.
I wasn't sure if they are because I thought maybe you couldn't do it with the linkage on that.
Yeah,
bike.
you can configure it
Okay,
for sure.
and you obviously prefer it that way. That's the way you've always known.
Yeah, that's what I'm used to.
But when you ride you got a Harley street bike at home, do you forget?
No, it's
You know,
different world, different
you're like, I'm not wearing the same leather.
different situation.
You know what's funny is guys like my dad that raced English bikes.
Oh, the shifter's
shifting's
on the
other
right.
side. So when he switched to Yamaha, he kept it on the other side, and he had to have all that adaptation to make it work.
Well, you shifted on the right side in flat track, right?
Oh yeah, the Harley, the XR 750, it's right side GP.
Yeah.
So-
Oh, it's GP for that. I
Yep.
didn't
Wow.
know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just you don't ever have to downshift on that thing. You just have to upshift from a start and just bang down on it with your right foot.
Do you have an XR 750?
Yes.
You do.
Yeah.
Dang, and they're
We
gonna
rode it at up in Wisconsin last summer.
That's right. I saw the photos.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And they did they cover that in the Push the Limit series that Harley put out, the documentary.
Do you still love that bike?
Oh yeah, I mean that's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one. That's the one that as a kid, I dreamed of being a factory Harley-Davidson rider. I wasn't dreaming about riding a Road Glide.
Right.
I was dreaming about riding an XR 750. So it's cool to have one, and it is my bike from when I grew up racing
That's
in AMA
cool.
flat track. So it's
That's awesome.
yeah, really cool.
You're Harley Davidson through and through, Kyle Wyman. So listen, we wish you the best of luck here at New Jersey. Your home track, kind of repaved. We'll see how it goes. We're going to look for you in the first practice session because that's going to dictate some things for you. So we want to see.
Now you put pressure on him.
Well, he said it. I'm just going with what he said.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.